Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning, Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. And of course, good morning to the world. You know, we are played everywhere, folks. Democracy needs to be played throughout the world. Well, before we get started, let's go ahead and get transferred to the control room, a room filled with geniuses. Good morning, control room. Howard Reynolds and Jack Van Bibber.
Well, Howard is out making him some money. So, Jack is here taking care of the stuff that needs to be taken care of.
Oh, sure. Who's there?
Just me.
Oh boy, your hands are filled. My God, your hands are filled up, man. But anyhow, what's the word of the day, my dear brother?
Well, the word is democracy. Democracy. Yeah. Democracy. What will we do without our democracy? Will we hand our lives over to the corporate fascist? Will Trump be elected? I don't think so. Will the fascists install Trump as Plan B, or is Plan B Plan A? He is openly using fascist rhetoric, wants to go after the lefties and the gay. If you're on the right, center, or left, and you vote in an authoritarian president, you will regret it. The first thing to go is choice. The second thing is freedom. The third thing is rights. Then the carnage starts, one by one. The left, the gay, then the poor, the old, the sinners. The workers become slaves. The middle class becomes serfs and bear the taxes needed to run the military. I ask again, what will we do without democracy?
You nailed it, my brother. What would we do without democracy? Well, you know what? We don't have to live without democracy because, again, it's in the hands of every single American citizen. And while too often folks would have you believe that you have no recourse, folks would have you believe that your vote doesn't matter, folks would have you believe like you are just this little person, things just happen, we can't make a difference. That is what they want you to believe. The truth of the matter is, as long as we maintained one person, one vote, and from somebody who does this all the time, folks, we still have one person, one vote. It's not over. We still have one person, one vote. As long as we have that, it is our responsibility to make sure that we keep it. So, I love the way you started the show, my brother, because we're going to talk a whole lot about those particular issues. But and we have a couple of things that we want to play as well. In fact, one of them I cut just this morning because it was like, I got to have our folks listen to this today. I've got to have our folks listen to this today. But anyhow, folks, we're going to have a great show for you today. Title of the show, as I scroll up, is GOP isn't party of life. Again, GOP isn't party of life. Republicans elevate ignorant leaders. I didn't say it, but you'll hear who said it. Trump's far-right playbook. So progressives must not let the GOP characterize itself as the party of life. Republicans continue to elevate the least qualified, and Trump is using the far-right playbook. So this is how we start. Welcome aboard. Texas Blue Bonnet says, good morning, Egberto at KPFT. I am up and you didn't put the and. I imagine you're going to say, I'm up and ready to go. And that's what we want everybody to be. Ready, ready, ready to go. I tell you, I think it's important for us to first realize that right at this point in our history, we have ceded ourselves to have leadership from those who are least capable to lead because they have used a lot of different techniques to come into power. You make believe like being smart is a problem, reading is a problem. Whenever you try to, if you try to move forward, you're being elitist. If you're trying to do something positive, you're being woke. So all these things that are possible, that are positive towards moving us forward, towards making us better people, towards making us a better country, somehow we flip it into being something negative. I don't know, for a long time, the right has so successfully made the word liberal toxic that even liberals would be scared to call themselves liberals. Progressives, the word hasn't been completely made contemptible, but the process has been made. So I remember over a decade ago, I told folks, I'm taking that darn word back. I am not going to allow them to define what a liberal is. I won't allow them to decide what a progressive is. This is what being liberal means. I care about you. I care about your family. I care about your well-being. I care about your financial state. I care about mitigating those who rip you off. I care about those issues. That's what it is to be a liberal. That's what it is to be a progressive. And you know what? There are no pure liberals out there. There are no pure progressives out there. It is something we're trying to attain as we grow, as we learn. Personally, of course, based on where I'm from, I didn't come over here with pure liberal values. Yes, I cared about people, humanity, etc. But there are a lot of things I had to learn. And that didn't make me woke by learning these things. It made me a human who cared. It made sure that it made sure I changed my framing, my thinking. It created growth, something that is now frowned upon by the right. Henceforth, get rid of the books. Henceforth, get rid of the gays. Henceforth, get rid of the educated. Everything out of the fascist playbook. I want to play a little piece here by Amy McGrath. And by the way, folks, the telephone number is 713-526-5738. We are taking calls. We're taking calls throughout the program. So feel free to give us a call throughout the program. 713-526-5738. I want to play Amy McGrath, which was at Kentucky. I think she was an Air Force pilot, if I recall correctly. She defined, Tuberville is trying to hold back he's trying to hold the country hostage. He's trying to hold the country hostage because he wants to regress into the rights we have for women. And those are the things that the right does. They hold the country hostage. They hold the budget hostage to promote their evil. They hold things that you must have hostage to get what they want. Let's go ahead and listen to Mademoiselle McGrath, and then we'll take it on the other side. I could not have said it any better myself. Amy McGrath hits the nail on the head. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Amy, what can be done about someone like Tuberville?
Well, I think the Senate's going to have to really look at this going forward because ultimately we can't have one senator holding up and hurting our military and our national security in such a way. It has been 9 months, and Senator Tuberville has literally weaponized his own position as a United States Senator to actively hurt our military, to actively harm our military readiness and hurt military families. And this has gone on, as you said, for 9 months. What has allowed this to happen is that the rest of the Republican Party and his fellow senators have largely been silent all the way up until now. And so, we can't allow this in the future. And the problem is we see more and more these extremist senators who in the past would be sidelined. No one would listen to them. But now the Republican Party has elevated their most ignorant, most arrogant, least qualified, most embarrassing members to be the leaders of their party. And this is the consequence, and it has real national security concerns.
I find it astounding that in 2023, we still have a Senate where the rules allow one senator to block absolutely any bill from coming to the floor, except if he gets a huge majority of senators to somehow override him over several days or whatever it takes. It is sick. It is completely sick that we have this. Now, I hope that what we get going forward is the realization that in a real democracy, you can't have a Senate that decides to act the way Tuberville is acting. And what Amy McGrath had to say about how these guys operate, you cannot say it any better. Currently, the Republican Party seem to move forward the least intellectual, to put it as kind as I can, the dumbest persons up forward. And because of that, we are in the situation that we're in throughout the country. One hopes that changes. Yes, one hopes that changes. And it only changes if he's not in the studio right now. But as Howard would say, go vote. You have got to vote and bring people in. Johnny, I'm coming to you in a minute, but I want to go, before I get to you, there's a press advisory out here by Daniel Cohen. And here's a press advisory. It says, broad coalition of Democratic precinct chairs and people harmed by District Attorney Kim Ogg to hold news conference urging party officials to formally admonish Kim Ogg. Press conference to be held in advance of Democratic Party's quarterly county executive committee meeting. A broad coalition of elected precinct chairs and Houstonians whose lives have been upended by the district attorney will hold a news conference to urge fellow Democratic Party officials to pass a resolution admonishing Kim Ogg this Tuesday, November 14th at 4 p.m. at the Harris County Democratic Party Executive Committee meeting located at Chateau Cristal. Chateau Cristal, that's where it will be held at 4 p.m. today, 2517 South Gessner Road. Again, that is 2517 South Gessner Road at the Chateau Cristal. The resolution, which has already been signed by more than 100 elected precinct chairs, documents an array of instances where Ogg has abused the power of her office to pursue personal vendettas against her political opponents, sided with Republicans to advance their extremist agenda, and stood in the way of fixing the broken criminal justice system. 9 speakers will address media in a press conference with questions and answers. Nia Hernandez, La Ronda Biggles, Dr. Hassan Gokul, who, remember what she did to him, that was an abomination. Christina Salinas, Deborah Smith, Tiffany Rachel, Jacelit Griffin, who we gave an award to at the Houston Peace and Justice Center Peacemaker Awards, Lauren Byrne, and of course, Chair of Precinct 272, Daniel J. Cohen. So please, if you have the wherewithal, if you have the time to be out there to stand up for democracy, something we talk about all the time, we cannot allow politicians who abuse the power that they've been ceded by the American people, in this case by the citizens of Harris County. It would be Chateau Cristal at 2517 South Gessner Road, right here in Houston. Anyway, you heard that piece that we did with Amy McGrath. We have a lot more to give, but beforehand, let's go to El Senor Johnny. Come on in, Johnny.
Hey, Egberto, to dovetail with what you and Magic Jack said earlier about democracy, if the other side didn't think individual voters and the collective of these voters didn't matter, you wouldn't have people like Brian Kemp abusing their authority, violating the law, I would say.
Right.
Using his votes when he was running for Georgia's governor.
As he was secretary, at the same time, he was a secretary of state and counting the votes, right?
Right. He erased over 1 million votes. He should be in jail for that. And
Yes.
that's just one example of dozens of examples of how the other side shows how much they are afraid of the power of democracy. They prove it every goddamn day.
Then they're saying it. They're saying it out loud now.
Yeah. They don't care. They are not woke. They are afraid to be awake. They don't want us to be woke. That's why they attack education. They have attacked public education for decades. I've witnessed it in a variety of ways, both passively and actively. Underfunding, undermining, micromanaging, putting word out in these Sunday morning political talk shows about how teachers are lazy and they want to get that tenure. They don't believe in academic freedom. They don't believe in academic research, except for the military. They think that people that teach in school, they can't be unionized. They don't deserve tenure. None of that. But that's not why I'm calling, though.
Let me hear
This morning on Arnie Arneson in her program, The Attitude, I have to respectfully disagree with Arnie. She described her she believes in universal military service, and she described her time when she joined the Air Force. And the reason why I have to disagree with that is I don't think that having required a universal military service is going to help us. The fact is, I believe that we should have universal service, but non-military. And I'm pragmatic. I understand that I'm not going to do away with a standing army. I understand it. I kind of accept it. So I would say, how about we make it optional for people out of high school to decide if they want to spend 1.5 to 2 years other than military service, because there's lots of work to be done.
I think, Johnny, I didn't listen to Arnie, but that's a good compromise. Otherwise, I would have agreed with her if you hadn't put that corollary in. I think right now our military, because it is fully voluntary. Look at somebody like Donald Trump. He said he would disown his kids if they ever signed up for the military. Look at how progressives believes. Kennedy's families, Biden's families, all these people served. Some of them sacrificed their kids for purportedly to maintain our freedom. Now, as you look at the military today, it's usually a last resort for a lot of poor kids, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. The rich kids are the ones who generally, again, I'm just speaking in the aggregate here, can go ahead and become the pilots and the colonels and all these others, right? So I see, without having listened to her, I can see why some would say we should all have a responsibility to serve. Now, I do prefer your idea that says you have to serve, whether it is in the military or it's in a group that's providing service to we, the people, in whatever fashion. So I am with you there. It shouldn't have to be just the military, but it has to be that we should all have to serve. So I agree there, brother. Anything else?
Yes, and there is the other part of this conversation that we haven't had yet. And the reason why she brought this up is because of our recent Veterans Day. And her idea with her guest, and I'm glad she had her guest because he brought up something that I hadn't thought about. If you have a policy where you encourage or require non-military service after high school and or college, the way public policy works, and he's right, her guest is right. What's going to happen is the people on the right end of the political spectrum, they will make sure that the evangelical churches will get people to volunteer to help them so that they will become sensitized to the way they see the world. So
Right.
the military Arnie Arnesen maintains that the military is a way for people to meet each other, people from New Hampshire who meet people from Texas and all that kind of stuff. We've heard this narrative before. But if that was the case, then I would not have had conversations at 2 o'clock in the morning with a guy named Joe Foster in my volunteer fire department back in the day. And I'll tell you one thing, this guy was a sniper. He was a military sniper aboard a helicopter. That was his job. And after we've had many, many discussions late into the night, he still believed that the Vietnamese were gooks. He says it wasn't personal, they're just gooks. He learned absolutely nothing from all my interactions with him. And what I'm saying, the military was segregated in World War II, basically. It wasn't until President Truman ordered desegregation. And even now we see pushback going on in different realms. The military service does not provide the kind of diversity, exposure, and results that we need. And by the way, the military is an organization designed to kill people and break things. What kind of diversity and love and peace is involved in that? When we say military service, thank you for your service. No, I thank my waiter for his service. I thank you for your service. And Magic Jack and the interim general manager at KPFT, you guys are providing service. You give your time and energy to bettering your country, your community. The military is not designed for that. So let's do away with this thanking you for your service if you've been in the military. That's not an experience I want my kids to have. And speaking of which, you're right. Donald Trump is an example of how people, it's not just him. We have to be honest about it. People on our side, the elites on our side, they don't have their kids joining up to the military after high school. They don't have their kids waiting on tables at the Jack in the Box. If you see them waiting tables, it's going to be at a fancy bistro somewhere where they get to wear a tie and a button-down, a white sleeve shirt for a couple of years while they're going through, working their way, quote unquote, working their way through college. Now, our experience still segregate whether we like to admit it or not.
Johnny, let me just counter with two things. The military is dependent on leadership. If we were to have good leadership, what Arnie says about people's integrating, etc. I have a whole lot of friends who've served in the military. Remember that the United States came to Panama, and in a lot of ways, it's not direct, but for an exchange for service. An exchange for service, a lot of people became. What's that?
The United States was naughty in Panama.
They're very naughty, but a lot of Panamanians came and served in the United States military. And let me just say, I can go ahead and do some abstracting. I can go ahead and do some compartmentalization. I can compartmentalize what the government tells its military to do and what the military is. And so let me just say one thing. When I say thank you for your service to a military person, I don't only mean thank you for your service. I mean, and I want to make sure that you have health care, and I want to make sure that you have all these things, because you are the last line of defense if we are attacked. So I'm a pacifist. Yes, I understand in a real world you need a military, and for those who are serving, I'm talking about the crooks, but those who are serving, remember, they only follow what the politicians supposedly tell them to do. I honor their services, but not just with words, but with deeds. And I know deep in your heart, that's where you're at as well. Now, when it comes to diversity, etc., I have watched diversity much more prevalent in the military. Yes, there's infiltration on the right that would try to keep a whole lot of these nuts out there, and they get a lot of play. But I've seen my brother-in-law was a captain, I think it was, in the Navy, or one of those officers in the Navy. My brother, my best friend, was a master sergeant, and again, I honor these people. But again, I hear you. and I hear you. Anything else before I jump to Harry?
Yes, you just admitted that we are both pragmatic. We both,
Yeah.
I think I'm safe to say that you agree with me that if you had your way, if we had our way, we would do away with the idea of a standing army and lead by example. But there's problems with that. I'm pragmatic. I understand.
Right.
If we were to do that, we invite problems. That's sure.
Exactly.
And right always has this thing where they talk about strength. Peace through strength.
Right.
You know,
I got you, Johnny. Let's cut this for now because we have other callers. Let's cut this for now. But you keep calling, Mayor. We'll talk.
You take that slogan, they give them an inch and they take a goddamn mile. That's the problem.
All right, brother.
So
Peace, Johnny. Peace. Harry, come on in, Harry.
Good morning, Humberto Willis. Good morning to the wise man, Jack Van Dever, and good morning to Mayor of Politics Done Right, Johnny. You usually have good ideas, as usual, with the military. When I was in church this weekend on Veterans Day, they were celebrating a lot of my church friends who had served in the military. And some of them served in the Army, some served in the Navy. My dad was a military man. He was in the Air Force. And you're right, Roberto. We do have to have a military that if we're attacked, it's our last defense. But I do agree with the Mayor of Politics Done Right's ideas to have a military and non-military to serve. He's right about that. I don't agree with Arnie Arneson on that because I was listening to Arnie Arneson as well. But anyway, I was going to say this. Dumb Donald, the Fat Albert character, Tim Scott, will resume his post as senator because nobody would attack him, please. So his funding he just didn't get the funding because nobody was listening to a dumb person like that. Because as you stated a little while ago, Roberto, when you are informed, you are woke. And a lot of black people and brown people and intelligent white people are woke not to vote for that dumb Donald who is going to Tim Scott, who's going to resume his post in South Carolina and do what his master, Lindsey Graham, tells him to do. So, it's good that he's not, his presidency campaign has been suspended and he's on the sidelines. I wasn't aware of this, that con man Larry Elder had a bid for the presidency. And
he quit as well. But I mean, those are two. Look, let me tell you, I have no problem with black Republicans. In fact, I think you should have black Republicans, Latino Republicans of every party should be populated with every ethnicity. Remember, I don't believe in race, but since we're a racialized country, we must do that. That said, our elders and what's his name? They are a disgrace to humanity. Yeah. Period. They are a disgrace to humanity. Humanity cannot move forward if here as a country, it's not you cannot not say that America is not a racist country. Saying America is not a racist country doesn't say that all the people in a country is racist. America has laws. America has institutions. America has a culture that, in effect, is racist. And until you cannot change something you don't acknowledge, we've been making great strides in changing this. And all of us together have done that. Black people, white people, people of every stride have worked together to change the systemic nature of what this country represents. Hell, it was a part of our Constitution. So when we have these two clowns, and that's what I call them, try to appease. Right. When they try to appease a sect of America by patting them on the back that says, your racism isn't racism. Don't listen to those other folks. They give them license because two black Neanderthals go out and tell them something they want to hear that's not the truth. Guys like them are a danger, not only to black people, they're a danger to white people as well. They're a danger to Latinos. They're a danger to everybody. And until and those kinds of folks need to get, Candace Owens and all of them, they need to be called out by everybody. They must be called out by white people, black people, etc., for lying to the populace at large. Go ahead, Harry, before I go to Augie.
Okay, well, I'll say that you're absolutely right about that, those points. But they just, people have to be woke and not sleep at the wheel, and they have to make informative decisions so they don't get duped by clowns like that. And I think most of Americans can see the gaslighting that those kinds of people do. And I think Nikki Haley, who made the comment, as you were talking about a racist country, she made that comment that the United States is not perfect, but it is not a racist country. She needs to follow them right out the door, and they need to suspend her campaign as well. And I'll say one thing I was going to say about Joe Biden yesterday. You had to go. Joe Biden, you better do the right thing and get with Benjamin Netanyahu and stop the ethnic cleansing over there in Israel, because it's going to hurt against the Palestinians, because it's going to hurt your re-election bid.
Thank you, Harry. Harry, got to go. Thank you very much, Harry. Biden needs to do what Harry just said, not because for the election, but because it's the right thing to do. And doing the right thing will help him with the election. Come on in, Augie.
No, good morning.
Before I go to you, Augie, I want to salute from our internet, Yvonne Montoya, welcome aboard Politics Done Right, as well as Eric Hayes and Texas Blue Bonnet. Thank you so kindly for being here. Go ahead, sir.
Well, during Vietnam, I served during the draft. And in the draft, you got people from about every class.
Yes.
In my unit in basic training, my bunkmate was the son of a multimillionaire in Virginia. He talked about the mansion his parents were making. They were cutting a road through the woods at the time, and they're going to build this big old mansion. And then we had farm kids from the Rio Grande Valley. We had a college kid from Ohio. We had a football coach from Louisiana, a small college.
Right.
And you had them from every class. But then also, I guess not many people know, if you were drafted, you had an option: go to the military or go to the Peace Corps.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Into
the Peace Corps. He went to the Caribbean to teach for 2 years. He was an educator, it helps. And my son, my oldest son, when he graduated from high school in the 90s, he wasn't ready for college, so he went into the military. He went into the Coast Guard. And in fact, another young man I know, went into the military. And he said they weren't mature enough to go to college. And the military, you get a different insight about the world, because you get all these different people from around the country that you're with, and all different ideas. And because of that, he matured after a couple of years, and he went to college. He graduated cum laude, and then he went back to get an MBA at A&M. Because of the military time he spent in there. And the Republicans have been really knocking down our military it had to change a whole lot for the worse. A lot of bases had military hospitals. Now they don't. Now they have like a HMO, medical insurance.
And they farm it out to the private sector. I mean, they do it all of the times now. There was a time where, and military doctors are all those that patch people up in Vietnam and Korea and all these places. Their experience in patching all our soldiers up made them some of the best surgeons and the slickest people making do with what they had. I mean, there's a lot to say there. And again, Johnny wasn't really speaking up against the military. He's speaking up about what the politicians have done and how the politicians have used the military to do a whole lot of deeds. So, I mean, I don't think we're all I think we're all on the same wavelength. Anything else, Augie, before I continue with the? I have
nowadays,
an important.
military is having trouble finding recruits.
Yes.
There's 1,800 immigrants that went to Afghanistan and Iraq and fought in our military because there weren't enough Americans willing to join the military because people were talking against the military, just like Johnny was.
Yeah,
and, there's over 1,800 and the Guard and the reserves too, because there aren't enough Americans willing to go represent the United States.
Now, Augie, let me just tell you, being from Panama, the military for a lot of Panamanians was used for as a ticket to get a visa to the United States, and a lot of Panamanians signed up. And they look. A lot of them didn't sign up because of glory, glory, hallelujah. But when it was time for them to serve in Vietnam, when it was time for them to serve all over, including when it was time for some of them to come back to Panama and served when Panama was invaded, which that's another story, was an interesting thing. But anyhow, what it proved, however, is when they signed up, their loyalty was to whatever the military was told to do, and by God, they did it. But anyhow, folks, it's important for us to, like I said, when I talk about honoring our soldiers, etc., I mean, I couldn't be more, I couldn't be more honoring to them, if you will, Augie, like you are. And again, like I said, I don't want to misconstrue what Johnny's saying, because Johnny had an important point that he was trying to get across. Anyway, anything else, Augie, that you want to say?
Like you said, those 1,800 immigrants, when they finished the duty, if they survived, they were sent back to Mexico. There's a whole bunch of them. Because the recruiters lied to them about them getting citizenship, and that's why they joined the military.
Mm-hmm.
Now there's a whole bunch of them waiting in Tijuana and Nogales.
That is shameful, because once you stood up and served under this flag, you earned your right to be a United States citizen. You should earn your right to be a United States citizen. I know a lot of dead Panamanians that are buried in Panama right now after having been killed in Korea and Vietnam. Well, I don't know them personally, but they exist, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, in Mexico too. But the healthcare thing is just like our Medicare thing. Not everybody recognizes TRICARE.
Right.
There was a base in Northern California. I happened to be with 90 days active duty there, and I was put in charge of all these young American airmen,
mm-hmm.
and they were telling me stories about them. Young guys like to play sports, to play football. They broke an arm on one of their players, so they went to what used to be the hospital. The building is still there, but it's the clinic now.
Right.
The medic said, "Yep, you broke your arm, all right, but I can't heal you. You have to go to the hospital in this little town outside the base."
Right.
So all of them went and took their friend with broken arm to the hospital. They don't accept TRICARE, so all these guys had to get their wallets out. So this American military guy could get his broken arm fixed because the hospital does not recognize TRICARE.
And it's funny, those little towns, they like to be there. So, we stand by our troops. Give me the money before I can heal you. Our healthcare system is shameful, not only for the military, outside the military. But Augie, anything else I need to continue? I want to play. Look, first of all, folks.
Okay. Johnny needs to be careful. He gets too excited, he's going to have a heart attack. But anyway, that's it. Well,
Thank you, brother Augie. Have a good one. Hey, folks, please remember, this is a call-in show, 713-526-5738. Love to hear your voices, 713-526-5738. Back to the subject titled, GOP isn't the party of life. Republicans elevate ignorant leaders in Trump's far-right playbook. I'm going to do this little piece here on Trump and being a fascist, and then we'll take it on the other. Well, let me set it up. It turns out that Donald Trump has a playbook. Donald Trump and the right has a playbook, and they have their steps. They're lining up. They're lining up to govern in a fascist manner. And while many just think, maybe not, maybe I'll vote for Kennedy, maybe I'll vote here, maybe I'll vote here. Look, be careful what you're doing. I want to play this piece. I just processed it as I was setting up for the show today. So, I had to really cut it real quick to play it for you guys. I want you to listen to this, and then we'll take it on the other side.
Wow. Pardon an exchange with longtime Trump advisor Steve Bannon from the final episode of The Circus. Joining us now, one of the now former co-hosts of The Circus, political strategist Mark McKinnon, plus MSNBC contributor Mike Barnicle, and special correspondent at Vanity Fair, host of the Fast Politics podcast, Molly Jong Fast.
Mark McKinnon, and we talked about this earlier. It used to be sort of a bob and weave where Donald Trump would say something extreme and then back off and go, oh, no, I don't mean that. I don't mean that at all. Now they're all just coming straight. It used to be Bannon would say something crazy and Trump and his people would say, no, that's not the case. No, they're aligned now. Bannon said 7 years ago, I'm a Leninist. I want to tear down the state. Well, Trump's with him now. Trump is a Leninist. Trump wants to tear down the state. They say they want to arrest the entire Biden family. They want to arrest people, even his former lawyers that turned on him. This is just full-on fascism, and they're proud of it.
That's what's remarkable, Joe. Molly and I were just talking about it. There's no secret to the secret plan. Believe them when they tell you what they're going to do. Bannon went on to say that this movement's moving on beyond Trump. The Trump, in his view, is a moderate. So, and talking about the greatest deportation in history, it's pretty chilling. And as you said, the remarkable thing about it is that they're not hiding the ball on this. So everybody should know, Team Democracy, it's time to suit up.
Team Democracy, it's time to suit up. Yes, that interview of Steve Bannon was done by John Heilman and Mark McKinnon. And the part that got me on the interview is after he said, oh, they may think Trump is a jerk, but the economy was great under him. Inflation was low under him. Whenever these people on the right say that, I can never understand why the person interviewing them or talking to them doesn't tell them the truth. Donald Trump had the worst economic numbers than any modern president. Take a look at the numbers even pre-pandemic. It's there for all to see. Even as he was rising on Obama's, what Obama did over 8 years. And people just keep believing this, oh, he was this great economic president. No, he presented the genesis of what's happening. My God, and this is what I talk about when people say, well, the other day, somebody on my 3:00 show said, Egberto, but you always use clips from the mainstream media. I said, yes, because they do a good job. They just don't do a good follow up, or they just don't do the interpretation as it should. Because I just showed you, they got Bannon to say all the things that we know he's going to say. They had all the right info, but they didn't have the follow through to let Americans know what he just said was complete bunk. That is what's important, folks. For the things that we don't get to, please remember you can go to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. There are so many lies out there that the right wing would like you to believe. Oh, we are the party of life. We are the party of life. These are things that when left unanswered, people start to really believe the crap. They start to believe the crap. I want you to listen to this little snippet that I got out of the Sunday shows, right? Where Mark, the guy who was the president's vice president, just comes out and says, oh, yeah, we need to retain that we are the party of life. Hell no, you're not the party of life at all. I want you to listen to Mark Short here. He's a former chief of staff for Mike Pence, Vice President Mike Pence. I am tired of hearing this characterization of the Republican position. Check this out, then we'll take it on the other side.
Mark, what do you make of this moment and what we all witnessed on Tuesday night? How much do you think abortion is a motivating factor for the Democratic base, and how concerned are Republicans about that?
Well, I think the Republican Party needs pro-life voters, and the reality is the party needs to continue to be the party for life. There's no doubt that right now the left is more energized since the Dobbs decision than the right is. I think that's apparent, but I also think that accepting, I think as Tim Scott said on your debate stage, accepting a minimum that says when a baby can feel pain, that's where we're going to protect life, I think is generally supported by a majority of Americans. I don't think we've articulated that well, and I think we need to contrast the Democrat position, which is abortion on demand up until birth, which is far just more in line with North Korea and China than it is with the developed world. I mean, the position of taking limiting abortion once you can begin to feel pain is even to the left of where France and Macron is, where the limit is 12 to 14 weeks.
Well, as you know, the Republicans lost big in an election off cycle that they should win. The party in power usually loses big in these off elections because, again, it just happens to be sort of a standard modus operandi. The Republicans have been losing that battle over the last several years, however, because of the positions that they take. Because, again, most Americans don't like the Republican positions proper. As it turns out, they lost big on abortion. And given that Republicans continue to believe that they know what's best for women, they just can't believe that cycle after cycle after cycle, Americans, women specifically, come out and say, no, we don't want you telling us what to do with our bodies. But Republicans somehow think, well, we can change their minds into behaving accordingly. Now, they think by using the excuse that, well, France may be only 14 weeks and America somehow falls under a platform that allows unlimited abortions at any stage, which has never been true. I mean, no woman wants to abort a 9-month baby or an 8-month baby or anything like that. Those are things that are done under dire straits, but that's not what they want you to believe. They want you to believe that it is something customary, that somehow women are these evil beings that no matter how pregnant they are, they just want the ability to throw their babies away. That's never been the case. Never been the case. But Mark Short says the Republican Party needs to get back to its roots and remember that it is the party of life. Since when? The party of life? The party that refuses to provide the assistance to kids after they're born? The party that gives a rat's you-know-what of the poor? A party that continues to give monies to the wealthy at the expense of those who need it, prematurely causing their deaths? A party that is that's anathema to health care, which means, again, premature death. In the case of Texas, we are leaving billions of dollars on the table as we kill people in Texas because they have no health insurance, even though the federal government has the insurance for them. The party of life? Come on, folks. We can't allow them to get away with making those statements. As soon as they talk about being the party of life, we identify all the different ways in which they're getting our citizens killed. From being pro-gun at all limits, to being individualistic in just about everything, except for the wealthy people, of course. Folks, we cannot allow them to make believe they're the party of life. The party of life are progressives, those whomever the progressives caucus with. That's the parties of life, not the Republican Party, who has a contempt for policies that support the poor, the middle class, the policies that support life. Absolutely. So, okay, let's go to the phones. Come on in, Steve.
Good morning, Brother Alberto.
Good morning, my brother. Talk to me.
I had a small thing to say in support of Trump and Bannon, if that's okay.
Sure, go ahead.
I've got first generation immigrant friends all the way to fourth generation. I'm a fourth generation immigrant myself. Mm-hmm. And I would like to say that I don't believe that Bannon or Trump are indigenous to this country. So I would like to support them in their efforts if and only if they lead by example and themselves first.
Oh my God, Steve. I honestly didn't know that is where you were going, Steve. I was getting ready to say, that is surprising, Wow. Steve, did you come up with that one yourself?
Oh, yeah. I think I had help from a couple four-legged friends. So,
in other words, okay,
anyway.
They need to be the first in line for the 10 millions they want to deport, right? Look.
Exactly.
It is so funny, Steve, that when we talk about not doing critical thinking and why it is that the Republican Party wants to ensure that its constituents don't do critical thinking. Let's go ahead and deport 10 million people tomorrow. Our economy comes to a halt. At that point, you don't have groceries. At that point, it is just amazing to me that folks don't think things through. And what's more amazing is that businesses who know better allow the rhetoric to continue because they have a feeling it's not going to happen, right? But at some time, if you make your constituents pretty unintelligent enough, some of this stuff can, in fact, start happening. It happened in Florida. They're having a construction issue right now in Florida where the buildings are left unbuilt. The prices are skyrocketing because, again, they can't find people to build these things. It happened in Georgia where the peaches are on the ground rotten. Because again, why again? Because the people that were normally doing this kind of work, they say, I'm out of here. I'm going to a place that is more amenable to me. Critical thinking, Brother Steve. Critical thinking. We cannot live without immigrants. You're getting a Social Security check. All you Social Security recipients who decide that you wanted to be anti-immigrant, who decided that you want to be anti these other folk. Your Social Security check, a component of that is from all those immigrants who pay into Social Security that will never collect because they don't have U.S. citizenship or a green card. Okay? So as you decide that you hate the immigrants so much, I hope you also hate your check that you're getting for the government. I hope you also hate the lower prices that you're paying for tomatoes and lettuce and squash and all these things, because your hate can actually cost you your financial well-being. Anything else, Steve, before we move on?
Oh, well put. I'd just like to say a quote from Howard, the infamous Howard.
Yes.
If you don't like them and if they don't lead by example, vote them out.
There you go. Thank you very much for your call, Steve. You have a wonderful rest of your day. Anyway, folks, we're coming close to the end of the program. I can probably I can't take any more calls, actually, because, again, we're really up at tight on the program. I want to thank everybody, though, for those of you who called in. I want to thank those of you who are listening, those of you who are in the chat room with some good commentary. That is what makes the show both online as well. We had quite a few on YouTube. Thank you so kindly for checking it out on YouTube. Do remember to share the program on YouTube. That is how we expand our world of knowledge. We learn together, we speak together, we console together. That's what we're all about here at Politics Done Right and the Politics Done Right Posse, kindly known as the PDR Posse. That was given that name by one of our listeners, Bridge MCP. Anyhow, folks, want to thank you for being here. But before I go, I want to give Jack a closer. Come on in, Jack.
Egberto, they're not the dumbest they're putting up there. They're the bought off with an agenda. You can be pretty dumb when you're paid enough. And the other is it's not what's best for the women. It's what's best for the evangelicals.
Absolutely. Thank you so kindly, brother. And good morning, John. Carter John John is the president of the Humble Area Democrats. He will be on with us on Friday morning. He is a great guy. He's really mobilized the east side of the county to get people into voting. I love you too, Texas Blue Bonnet. He's mobilized and he's doing what Howard always talks about. Vote, vote, vote. Vote them out, those that are not in the best interest of you. And I don't care if it's a Democrat that's misbehaving. Vote them out too. I don't care. We are about the people. Anyway, it's time for me to get out of here. Thank you very much, Jack, for your hard work. Thank you, callers. Thank you, listeners. Thank you, chatters. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number 1, subscribe to our channel. And number 2, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.